Hi friends, this is Gina. Over the past few weeks in June 2020, a lot has happened. A social justice movement has finally taken some recognition in our world, which is a fight our brothers and sisters of color have been having for a long time, right under our noses. My journey over these past few weeks has been mainly focused on offering support, educating myself as much as possible, and sharing the mic with others around Black Lives Matter. I used to be someone who didn't share my political views online because I felt like I lived my life full of kindness and without racism. But I quickly learned that that's the majority of what white people are doing, and it's not helpful. Calling out racism in my everyday life, holding those accountable, spreading awareness about racism, and practicing anti-racist activities regularly, even when this quote-unquote trend is over in the media, is what I have been focusing on. I, like many white people, have been scared to share my thoughts and feelings for fear of judgment and my own shame coming to the surface. In the blackout week, I took some reflection time and thought about how I wanted to show up as an advocate for health and for my community. What was my role in this world and in this movement? As a health coach, I help women to not be ashamed of who they are, which directly relates to a feeling that Black individuals are having right now. I also discourage judgment within my clients' hearts towards themselves and show them that fostering a self-loving relationship is so important. Because this is my passion around helping women love themselves fully, I decided to take this role within the Black Lives Matter movement. Black oppression in a white male-dominated world must not be tolerated anymore. I wanted to use my platform to share others' stories and how they are being affected, with hope to inspire people, especially the Black community, to not be ashamed of themselves. Expressing our feelings and emotions through joyful and difficult times is crucial for our mental well-being, and I encourage us all to be brave during this time. I hope that our conversations today can inspire, educate, and motivate you towards change. Enjoy this interview as part of a series that I'll be doing to offer my support through this important time in our history. Hi, everyone. This is Gina again, and I have here one of my dearest, bestest friends, Nicole Rogowski. Say hey.
Hi. Oh, hi. I say hi. Okay.
That's okay.
Hi, everyone.
We are just sitting down, girl to girl, friend to friend, just chatting a little bit about the world and what is happening right now and just how we're taking it in and what we're experiencing. So right now we're going through the movement of Black Lives Matter and more of like a civil rights movement. And I did mention in my last interview with Isha and Abby that not only has this been something that's brought up recently, but this is something that's been underlying in our culture and in our society for a long time that I think people really need to realize. So I'm just going to chat a little bit with Nicole and ask her some questions, and we'll get into it. So my first question is, how have you been impacted by this experience with your background and just like, what do you feel? What are you going through right now?
Okay. Well, to paint a picture for, I mean, sure, you're probably gonna look me up on the gram, but I am actually, I am what I like to call a Half-African. I
I
am
love it.
not 100% African American. I'm 50%, and then I'm also 50% Caucasian. My mom is actually from England,
I
so I
love
can
that.
truly claim that. Um, so, this has impacted me in a way where it's resurfaced a lot of old emotions that I've spent a lot of time over my life kind of coming to terms with and being aware of and learning to deal with. And I'm not going to lie, it's been very overwhelming because, I pride myself on being a very balanced person and being very good at handling awkward situations with people. I've been personally blessed with not having to deal with any personal physical aggression, and I've never dealt with police on a level that people are seeing right now exposed. But yeah, I've been definitely handling a lot of this and on a more emotional scale, which is not something I was expecting to go through right now. Especially, man, I live in Florida and I feel like it's very diverse down here, and it's a different environment. And I come from a diverse family because obviously I'm half and half, and my siblings are mixed like me. I have 4 younger siblings, by the way. 4 other people look like me. But yeah, this has been quite the journey. And it's impacted me because people are expecting me to have things to say, words of wisdom, things that can help either lighten the mood or bring truth out. And I struggle knowing how to talk about this for many reasons, which I'm sure we'll uncover in another couple questions.
Yeah, I mean, if I guess because you come from the performing world as well, like we're just so used to being around so many different walks of life, so many different cultures, you know, people with different genders and sexual preferences, and just so different. And I think in the arts world, it's more acceptable to honor those differences and just find that beautiful.
Absolutely.
So like with your family being so different and so unique, and like being in a unique work environment as well, I guess what made you feel like you were different, and like was that considered something good or bad in whatever environment you were in? I guess that's kind of a weird question, but
that's okay. It's not a weird question. So I think your question is, how did this come about in my work environment as a performer, correct? Is that kind of like?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I guess, like at what point did you feel like you were made to feel different in an environment? And I guess what were those environments? What were the like words and actions? And like how did you handle it?
Ooh, well, number one, before I met Gina, for anyone that's listening to this, I came from a ballet background, and that is like a totally different background in performing than musical theater is. And in the ballet world, there's not a lot of diversity as far as darker skin tones go. And that's not to say that's anyone's fault. Let me preface that, because I do believe that, for things to be diverse, you have to have people coming in from both sides. You have to have people that are wanting to accept and have those people included and brought out. And then you have to have people show up.
Right, exactly.
Because if no one shows up to auditions, they're not going to have anyone to choose, So I did find it was a little harder for me in the ballet world to feel like I was kind of on the same note as everyone. It was definitely my differences were definitely more highlighted, not necessarily on a dancing perspective. I will also like to preface my physical attributes as well here. I have great dance feet. That's my one thing, my whole dance career. I've been very lucky. I have like banana feet, like if anyone's a dancer out there and knows what I'm talking about, when I point my toes, usually my toes and my heels are on the floor at the same time.
Right.
when I'm
So
laying on the
super
so I have very good,
talented in that way.
yes, I have very good feet, which is actually an anti-stereotype to the African-American dancer. I have really, really, really good feet. But I know that I spent a lot of time working on my body in other ways. Growing up in the ballet world, I was always assumed that, you know, my spinal form, like my sway back, was like always a problem for my teachers. They would never look at anything else in my artistry, and I would struggle to show it. I would struggle to show my port de bras and my expression and my quickness to pick up movement. And all my corrections were your back, your back, your back. You need to have a straight back, straight back. You can't help it. You're African American. Blah, 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 blah. And that was weird for me because I knew that dancing wasn't just about my back. Yes, that does, you know, having alignment, great alignment is very key to the ballet core of technique, but that was a hard thing for me to try to get my teachers to work on other things with me. But I did have great alignment going into my professional career because I was making sure that that was a priority for me as a performer. But you know, when you're younger, you're just kind of like, there's more to me, see me, see everything about me, not just the one attribute that's a stereotypical Black person attribute. You know, I wanted to be seen and trained and coached in other things. And I pride myself on being very coachable and very easy to mold. But when I feel like there's only one thing they're focusing on, that's very difficult. And then I guess moving on in there is just little vain things here and there. Like I remember growing up and having things like, you know, we have to go to a specific special store for Nicole because we don't have tights that go with her skin tone, or we have to now go and dye her stuff, which is another expense. And I would hear these conversations in front of me, and it would be like a guilt trip, and it would just be so weird and just unnecessary, especially when you're younger. You know, you want to be the team player. You want to be accepted and loved, and you want to be seen for who you are. And when they're just constantly being like, well, now we have to go out of our way just to, you know, be diverse. You know, that was just not a good feeling.
Especially when it's something you can't really control. Like it's a part of you, and you were made to feel like it was wrong or it was like a burden for someone else.
Yeah. And I'm definitely, like a lot of performers, I'm definitely on the people pleaser scale, like on the high end of the people pleaser scale. So for me, hearing that, you know, throughout my journey, you know, and it would always happen right before a performance too, because, you know, you spend months rehearsing, you spend months practicing and getting corrections on dance movements. And you feel like leading up to the show, you're on your A game. You've been working so hard and you're starting to amp yourself up for the actual performance and the expression of a performance. And then all of a sudden you get the mental burden and weighing down on you that shouldn't be weighing on you. That's not as a performer, I would like to say, like, that's not your job to worry about costumes unless like literally like you have to clean your costumes at the end of the night. That should be the only thing you worry about. You shouldn't have to be like, dang it, like I wish I was not so tan so they didn't have to do this for me. You know, that shouldn't be your responsibility and burden at all.
Do you feel like people who look like you or people with color are represented in the performing industry enough, especially the environment that I guess we were in, which is Disney and in Florida and Universal and that whole area? Do you feel like there's enough representation there?
I think there's an exceptional amount of representation there. I think actually, I mean, if anything, I wish my fellow Asians, I don't see enough of them.
Yeah.
I feel like I see a lot of, you know, dark skin tones and light skin tones, but I really don't see a lot of Asians. Love you guys. Where are you at? But again, like, I don't know. That might not be their fault or the casting people's fault. Maybe there's just not people showing up. I don't like to go in thinking that people are evil, because I do think that our profession is so blessed to understand the struggle of feeling like an outsider, because the arts in itself has always been on the outside in the fringes of society. So, but yeah, I feel like I'm represented as an African American woman. I feel like as a mixed woman, I'm also represented. I've seen more Africans in the industry lately, which is really great.
Yeah, it's very, very,
with each other, you know?
yeah, it's really refreshing, actually, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't even like being in a room of people that all look the same and look the same as me. Like, I really don't like those kinds of environments, because you end up having the same perspectives, the same ideas. Like, it's just not diverse. And you know, working at Lululemon, they teach you to like enroll as many ideas as possible and as many different views as possible. And you can't do that when you have the same type of people in a work environment, or even just within like a friend group. So
can I make an analogy?
Yes.
Okay. This just popped in my head because I'm a creative thinker. But if you think about diversity as like your diet, you know, and you're a health coach, so I'm sure you understand this. Man cannot live on bread alone. Okay. That's an age-old quote. I think of diversity, or like as in experiencing and getting to know other people, like what I like to eat on a daily basis. If I eat the same stuff every single day, that might make me full. It might make my hunger go away for a little bit, but I'm always going to want something different. It's always going to feel bland after a while. It's always going to feel like my health's not evolving or going anywhere. You know, if I just eat in the morning, if I just have an egg sandwich and a Powerade, if I have that every single day, well, how can I say that I want to be healthier, or I want to have more enrichment inside my body if I only have that?
Yeah.
That's not enough. That's not enough to have a full balanced diet. And if you can apply the word life to diet, like, you need a balanced life, and you can't get that when you're just around the same people all the time. And sometimes you can't control that with your job. Like, if you're not in charge of hiring, you can't control who you work with, clearly. You can try to like bring your friends in and be like, hey, hire my one friend, but you know, you can't control that. But, you know, I think if you can experience that other places in life, you know, going out and meeting friends and then getting to know new people, striking up a conversation with someone at the bar that looks by themselves, or, you know, if you go out to the grocery store and you reach for the same item on the shelf, strike up a conversation. It's so neat to meet different people.
Absolutely. And I guess what's been your experience with trying to diversify your life and reaching other people's perspectives in all different cultures? What has been your experience with that?
Man, I think I'm just so blessed. Like, a lot of the environments I work in, it's just so diverse. If I can go in further, like right now I'm not performing anymore. I'm kind of like retiring, but I currently work at a yacht marina, and I bartend, I waitress, and the people I see on a daily basis, we call them yachties. They work on the boats. They live on the boats. They're like the captains, the engineers, the first mates, the stews, all these guys. They're all from different parts of the world. And when I go and I see them, you know, I don't just hand them their beer and walk away and say, thank you so much, tip me good. Like, I really get to know these people, and they're so fascinating, and they're so willing to talk. That's the other thing, that we have to understand, that people have stories and they are willing to talk. You just have to ask questions. And you can also preface your questions saying, look, I'm ignorant and I don't know anything. So I'm coming to you because I want to learn, and I just want to know for my own personal education and for my own cultural needs and for my own wanting to be a human with you. I want to learn about you. You're fascinating. You have things that I don't even get to experience already in your history book. in your personal history book. So I do spend a lot of time, to answer your question, sorry, the wraparound. I do spend a lot of time really, especially when it's slower. Like, for example, we just had the pandemic's still going on. It's been slow at my job. I've been lucky enough to still go to work. But I've taken the extra time I've had to really actually sit down with people and talk with them. And it's so cool. Like, I never knew that. Okay. And again, I'm an ignorant. I'm really bad with geography. I did not know that the Bermuda Triangle, like there's an actual place, Bermuda. I didn't know that. Like, I'm an idiot. I'm an actual idiot.
It's okay. There's a lot of things I don't know geographically too, so don't feel so bad.
Okay, good. I don't feel so bad. But one of my favorite regulars, I won't name who it is, for their privacy, but one of my favorite regulars, I was like, where are you from? Because in my stupid brain with my limited life experience and my whatever assumptions, I see someone that's light-skinned like me, and a lot of the people that are light-skinned like me are either just from this country or they're from like the islands. And I'm like, where are you from? Because I've never really asked you, and you're so fascinating and different. And he's like, oh, I'm from Bermuda. And I'm like, that's a place? And I spent 30 minutes just learning about Bermuda with this guy, and something I never would have learned had I taken the time to just ask,
I love that.
So I guess like I get the diversity in myself enriched. I mean, I'm naturally diverse myself. That is in my DNA, but that doesn't mean that I'm diverse as a person mentally. I think we have to think of diversity not just as like being surrounded by people, but being open and adopting, new ideas and things from other people.
Yeah.
And letting that enrich your life on a daily basis.
I think of like just living your life with curiosity and just always seeking out different opinions, different views from your own. Because I think the best thing that I've ever done in my life has been to travel and view other cultures and other places, because you get out of your little bubble of where you live and the same, like you said, the same group of people that you always talk to who are probably similar to you. And you don't even know that there's this whole world out there that is, different, but we all experience the same human experiences.
Yes.
And I think that is like the biggest thing that I learned is, yes, this person can live completely differently than me. They, are speaking a different language. They're a different color than me, but they also experience pain. They also experience love and money issues and, house issues and relationship issues. Like, we're all
the relationships are the same in every country, you guys. Like,
it's just the same human experiences. And I think when we stay curious and remain like empathetic to that is when we can really start to accept our differences and not necessarily ignore them, but accept them, appreciate them, and honor them.
Yeah. Can I also like say another thing I've been doing recently? You got me on a tangent. Well, it's not a tangent. It's related. Well, another thing that I like to do now, because I'm still a young businesswoman in my little business that I have, for anybody, again, that doesn't know anything about me, I'm sure that I'm shocked I'm not known yet. No, I'm just kidding. I have like a handmade business. I crochet. I just picked up knitting, which is a lot. But I hand make stuff and I create patterns and everything. And on my Instagram, a lot of Instagram is just like not just curating your own photos, but curating your tribe for yourself and really taking the time to look at people's profiles, follow them if you're gravitating towards them. And I've been taking a lot of time actually, how do I use this? What's the word? Oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Not mindfully. Oh my God. Do you know where I'm trying to say?
I think so.
Oh my God.
That's okay. That's all right.
Anyway, I've been trying to take the time to consciously follow people that are spark an interest in me that's not necessarily like, oh, they make pretty things, but like, oh, this person is so different in this way. Like, what makes this person different? Because I can see like a handmade hat and be like, oh, what a pretty hat, pretty yarn colors, pretty this, pretty that. But, you know, it's more to go into their profile and see like, what's going on with them, clicking their link tree and seeing like what's on their blog, like who are these people. And I've been taking more time curating diverse people into my Instagram, like who I follow. And my Instagram feed is so beautiful because of that. Like when I go to scroll through and like pictures and things like that, like I'm not just following hashtags, I'm following different people, which I find so much more interesting than just like, okay, I'm a handmade business. I personally make Disney inspired things. I'm only going to follow people that make Disney handmade items. That's so like, number one, I'm going to get sick of it. Number two, there's so much more out there. And so much, and I've learned so much more as a maker, and I've been so much more inspired for my future projects because I'm more surrounded by different things that can further bring better designs out of me as a creative person. So.
And that goes back to consumption. Like, you know, what are you consuming? Not like consuming with your nutrition, not necessarily, but what are you looking at every day? You know, what are these people positive? Are they inclusive? Are they promoting a way of life that accepts all people? And I think when we have those biases unconsciously, we can also look at what we are consuming on a daily basis, whether it be the media, the news, our social media feed, you know, and you were saying that you try to diversify that and really look into the person of how authentically they're showing up online.
Yeah, that's a big one for me.
Yeah. And I think like just unfollowing people,
Yes, I do that a lot now. I've been like people that I started to follow when I was first on Instagram. I find myself unfollowing them because I realize like, you know, yes, I want different perspectives, but like I do want good moralistic people that are like down to earth. Like I want to be able to, the people I like to follow are people that I'm interested in one day. If I happen to meet them on the street, I would love to buy them coffee and sit down and talk. Like I want to follow people that I can shake their hand and say, thank you for encouraging me to be more authentic.
Yeah, exactly. So this question is a little bit deeper.
Okay.
What do you think that there is a difference between Black accessibility and privilege and white accessibility and privilege?
Oh, that is a deep question. I think for me, that's more regional, if that makes any sense. I think in the year 2020, I don't necessarily think there's a huge difference anymore than when it was during the first original civil rights movement of Martin Luther King and all those amazing people. And it's because of their work that we're now at this point, that we're really getting to the nitty gritty, and we're really taking our sandpaper now and we're refining and redefining, you know, what actual privilege is. Because to me, I know a lot of rich African-American people that leave whatever life they grew up with and they don't look back and they don't help people. I know a lot of those people are out there and they have privilege, and I know they don't use it. And so it's kind of now going back to, are you forgetting your roots, and like, are you doing your part? I mean, as humans, we need to do our part, I think. And again, I have such a different perspective because I am a literal fusion of both sides.
I think that's why I want your perspective.
Yeah. And I, you know, and again, anybody that listens to this know that I come from a small town in Pennsylvania, and I was like one of 8 Black kids in my high school. 3 of them were my siblings. So I did see not a lot of people like me growing up, but the older I get, and I think it was better that I saw this more when I was older because, I think I had a more open mind to see things. I wasn't just focused on, oh my God, I got a zit on my face, I can't go to school. Like I was more focused on learning about other things in life, real things. And I definitely know that privilege is something available to a lot of people these days. And privilege is something that is wasted. And it's because of selfishness. And it's because of, what's the right thing to do. And you don't do it because you are so focused on continuing to move ahead, even though you're already so far ahead above everyone else. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. I mean, do you think
that is a really tough, hard question to answer?
It is.
Because I think yeah. Go ahead.
I did just watch the documentary, The 13th. I mentioned this in Aisha and Abby's interview as well, but it was super eye-opening, especially around the topic of accessibility with the history, like you said, like just knowing your history and where you came from and like how that affects accessibility now for the Black community of like, we were put in these communities that don't get as much funding, that don't get as much, support, and we don't have accessibility to like, as many scholarships, as many student loans, as many home loans. And I guess us being a little bit younger, like we haven't really seen that a lot in our personal experience. But that was one of the things that I took from this documentary is like, I did not even realize as a white privileged woman that was even a thing. And it really changes my perspective of why, maybe people of color are in that situation that they are in at the moment, because maybe they didn't have access to those things. Right. Maybe it wasn't a personal choice.
Yeah. And it's not even just access. It's knowing what is out there, not having access to not like just like actual tangible funds, but having access to information.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, you and I are a little different. We grew up in a time before, like when the G machine was invented, like we were growing up in a time where like the internet was new and, having access to like information was a new thing. I think like people that came before us, if you didn't hear about it through the grapevine, if it wasn't posted somewhere in your high school, you didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing is that, it's truly the job of, in my personal opinion, like people that drive educational evolution, it is their job to be able to provide all of that information.
To everyone.
To everybody.
Yes.
Like send it home with the senior parents' kids on the first day of school. Send a packet of information. To find out more information on scholarships, go here. If you have questions about funding for college, go here. Like call here. Like if people have that ability to know they can at least ask questions to the right people, that's enough. Because people that really want to further their lives, people that want to have that second education or the better education, they have the drive to do it. But if they don't have a path to walk towards, or if they don't even know if there's a path in general, they're not going to get there.
Yeah.
And that is the difference, and people with a lot of money, people with a lot of influence, they know people that know people that know people. So they have lots of avenues to find information and find funds and this, that, and the other. But when you're kind of like, again, I'll use my small town reference, as a thing, like you come from a small town and you're not handed, me as a high school student, I knew I wanted to be a dancer. I literally fought tooth and nail asking everybody I knew, where can I dance? Where is their dance available? I didn't even know dancing in theme parks was a thing until I went to a theme park and I saw it on a stage. No one told me about it. My mom didn't know, my dad didn't know. And, you know, that's again, like, then I was seeing people on stage. I'm like, well, how did they know? How did they find this out? But again, like, that is the educator's job.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like the teachers in the classrooms, because they only have a specific amount of time every day to interact with every student. They have 3 kids. Like, that's a lot. But I'm saying like people above them, like board of directors, maybe the parents committee, you know, the town, the school psychologist, you know, the school counselor, the people that are in the administrative seats of the schools. That's their job to get it together. Because you can't say that your school was successful with your students if they don't have that available to them. Your school's only successful as where your kids go after they leave. They can get straight A's in school, but if they're not able to take that anywhere because they didn't have any information, that's on them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think there's definitely a difference between privilege in all levels. I know that one of the things that struck me in this documentary, in this Zoom call that I recently watched, was this this Black man was using his privilege as a yoga instructor to tell other people and make it accessible for them to teach yoga and them to experience yoga. Because like the accessibility, right? About, you know, they don't think it's a thing for them if they don't see themselves doing it.
Yes.
Right. So
I think that's incredible he did that with yoga, because that's a big trigger in the community. I know in African American community, you know, yoga is seen as a white thing. And that's sad. That is so sad, because yoga is not a color thing. It's a spiritual thing. And
it's also not even a white thing. It's not even a white thing. It came from India.
Exactly. So, you know, we're all mixed up here. So like you said, you know, if that was more accessible, because if he did that and that spread like wildfire, God, that would be amazing.
Yeah. And that's what he's doing. He's using his privilege of having this and to show other people that it is possible. And when other Black males see him doing yoga, they're like, oh, you know, I'm seeing myself. And that, you know, yoga as an activity or as a meditative activity or as a spiritual practice is suddenly represented in the way that, you know, maybe they didn't see anyone like them that looked like them doing that activity, but now they are. And now they say, oh, this is accessible to me too. So it's about like looking at your culture and looking at the society.
Yeah, where you stand in it.
Yeah, and just seeing like what is being represented and fighting for that, because like I said, with body shapes and women in general, like being, you know, over sexualized and objectified in the media, you know, how are we being represented on a daily basis, and how are people of color being represented on a daily basis? Just looking at that.
For sure.
So I have one last question.
Oh, okay.
So what advice do you have? This is kind of a big question. What advice do you have for people of color around this issue, white people, and also humanity?
Okay, this is a big question. Ooh, so again, you know, life is all about becoming better than who you were the day before, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, it's like stereotypical. It's about the journey. It's okay to be aware and to know that your thoughts were toxic once, but you can't just know that that was the past you. You have to know that you have to go somewhere from there. Because you can either go in a worse direction or you can go in a better direction. But you have to go in a direction, in my opinion. My advice for my Caucasian friends out there Just so everyone knows too, I am in a multiracial relationship. My husband is Polish Italian. He is white, green
Love
eyes.
him.
I love him. He is the apple of my eye. That man to me is like such a strong guy. He's been so supportive this whole time. It's sad that right now, like I literally told him I'm scared for him, because when he walks around without me, people assume that he is some random white guy. He's built. They probably think he's some tough guy. They might assume he's racist.
Yeah.
And so my advice to my white Caucasian friends, don't let people assume that you're that, because you're a loving person. No matter what your past is, if your heart is in the right place, you have the capacity to love. And everybody has that, and I think that the best you can do when you don't know what to do or say is just to love. I don't think that everyone needs to talk, first of all. I will say that, and I will say that loud and proud. Being silent, yes, is not a good thing, but I also think just talking isn't good either, because you can't just know what to say when something like this springs up in 4 days. Forming a educated and well thought out opinion and idea and good perspective takes years of development. That does not come out overnight, because there's many people in this world that have taken lifetimes just to learn how to accept love, not even to give love. So I will say, if you have something to say, say it, but say it carefully and considerately, and make sure it comes from a place of love. And don't just say it just to say, I told you so, or, I'm standing up because someone told me to stand up. Don't stand up just because someone said it. Stand up because you want to and you need to, because that doesn't help anybody's fight when you're just doing what someone tells you to do. That's not how we move forward. Absolutely. At all. So that's all I'll say with that. Also I'll say, be careful with stereotypes. It's really easy to make jokes with friends when they're inside jokes and your friends well, but know your audience. Be careful with stereotypes. I don't know how many times as a waitress bartender someone's made a comment to me, and it's completely ruined my day. And I didn't let them know because, I don't know them well. They don't know me well. But watch your words as far as joking goes. If you're not a naturally funny person, don't joke with someone that you don't know. That's just the first rule of comedy. Know your audience, okay?
Oh, I hate jokes. I hate jokes.
I hate jokes. They're not funny. You don't know the person.
I hate sarcasm because I'm a very sensitive person, and sarcasm usually comes from truth. So I hate people that are overly sarcastic, because I want to be so authentic and so honest and truthful, and that makes me question them and their truthfulness. So I love that you said that.
But overall, be careful of stereotypes. If you're trying to make light of a situation, just be careful, because you could do more damage than you know. And people you don't know anyone's background until you ask them. Mm-hmm. So first step, ask a question. Second step, listen. Third step, think. Okay? Thinking is a very important part. And last step, whatever action follows that, make sure it comes from love.
You heard it from Nicole Rogowski. The 4 steps for white people.
But that's not just, and I'm going to say this too, just for everyone to hear this. This is not black versus white, everyone. I hope you realize this is so much deeper. And again, I'm coming from a very personal place with this. I hate this war that's continuing, that it has to be you're on the black side or you're on the white side. That is so effing wrong. I can't even express how wrong that is, because I've gotten weird looks most of my life from African Americans because I am not dark enough for them. So And that'll bridge me into my next, like, you know, my advice for African Americans: be kind to those around you, to everybody. I know the struggle is real. I see that. There's been a lot of hurt. The hurt runs so deep inside a lot of people. But just because you think that someone has a happy face on and that they have don't assume someone's happy face is a privileged face. Maybe that's a triumph face, that they've gotten over something, you know? And don't think like that your struggle is more than someone else's either. Everybody has a struggle. There's so much in this culture that is wrong because we want to think that our victim story is bigger than someone else's victim story. That is not the case. Like, brutality is sad no matter who it happens to. Yes, this particular example has ignited a fire in people, and I'm very happy for those people that they've used this to have a voice, but be very careful with that, because fires can warm people. They can provide warmth and comfort, and they can provide light, but they can burn things down as well. So I would say my advice is just be careful. I really commend people that have been using this time to have real, true, peaceful protests, people that have really taken, you know, the whole, I forget which amendment it is. I never know the right order, but like the freedom of speech, they're practicing it correctly. I commend those people. The people that scare me, that I'm scared for my husband to confront when he's out in the world without me, are the people that are creating these violent reactions. That's not okay. You don't fix anything with that. And they know that, but they're so deeply hurt that they're not, you know, and maybe this goes back to the accessibility, mental health accessibility, and finding counselors within your community. Maybe there's not enough of that, and that's why these people have no one to talk to, and so they just get together and they get angry together, and then they make these bad choices that are putting negative effects and images on our culture.
Oh, so good. And for humanity, all humans.
Humanity. My advice for humanity. Wow. That's a big one. That's a big group. That's like everybody, right?
That's everybody.
Everyone's in there.
I mean, you said a lot of good advice for humanity already, but if you have a final word.
Maybe my overall final word, get out of town. I mean, how many times do you hear these social influencers and people on YouTube and these bloggers? They're, you know, that's a big craze right now. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's got a blog or some kind of thing. We all have one. I know. I have one. Everyone's saying, get out of town, go travel. And it's true. You don't have to have a lot of money to travel. And maybe you need to, you know, take a Christmas, take all the birthdays you spend money on, and maybe just send them a Starbucks gift card and say, I'll get you a souvenir in Europe. How about do that? Get out of this country, get some fresh air, or go to the other side of the country, get some fresh air, or go north to Canada, or go to South America. And I'm speaking maybe more for people in the States, because I feel like people in other countries do a great deal of traveling naturally. That's more a part of, you know, European culture, is to get out and travel. You know, they have, you know, people in England have like 3 months of vacation paid.
Yeah. And they also have a small country, so it's a lot easier to travel by train and, you know, those types of things.
It's a lot easier.
Accessible.
It's more, hello? Maybe if you're sitting at home, you're like, I still spent this whole quarantine life trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, and I didn't come up with anything. Well, maybe it's because you have a bland diet. Go out and absorb and consume some stuff from other cultures and countries. Take your humanity and go enrich it somewhere else.
I love that.
That's all I got.
I love you. Oh my God. It's such a pleasure talking to you all the time. I could talk to you all day.
I could talk to you all day because you're cool.
You're cool.
You're cool. You're so important to me.
Oh,
I love you.
I love you too. And on that note, we're going to say goodbye.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for chatting with us, Nicole.
Thanks. Love you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode. This was the second interview that I did around the Black Lives Matter movement with my dear friend Nicole. And I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please press the like button and subscribe. I'll be coming out with new videos, and I'll also be coming out with new videos including me with some health coaching tips. So I'm super excited to start this journey around the YouTube platform. It's completely new to me, so I'm very excited about it. If you did like this, please share it. Hopefully it inspired you, and hopefully it inspires others around you to make some changes around this important movement in the world. Thanks so much.